Good afternoon, everyone. It's Friday afternoon. Yes, we have made it through another week. Barely. It's been another one of those weeks. What more can I say? I mean, it just, time just keeps marching on and it doesn't feel like it, does it? We just keep going on. And I don't think Groundhog Day the movie could have ever been as crazy as what we've imagined and what we've experienced the last few months. And I hope you're doing well. I hope you've had a great week. I'm going to be honest. I was sorely tempted to do this one from Hunter's swimming pool in the backyard. I was out there with him earlier today, splashing around, and decided better about it because, well, the laptop is not waterproof. The webcam is not waterproof. And the microphone is not waterproof. Never a good combination to get water mixed up with these things. So I hope, once again, that you've had a good week. Welcome to our happy hour webcast from WhiskyCast.com. I'm Mark Gillespie in the studio in Haddonfield, New Jersey. We've got a fun hour coming up with a couple of my good friends that I want to bring into the picture right now. Amanda Schuster and Lou Bryson. How are you guys doing?
All right. Thanks for having us, Mark.
Well, thank you for joining us. And Amanda, of course, is the editor-in-chief of alcoholprofessor.com. Lou Bryson is the writer of a lot of stuff about whiskey, writes for the Daily Beast, has written the new book, The Whiskey Master Class. And I do want to bring up both of your book covers just to give you guys plugs.
Aww.
New book there, Whiskey Master Class, and also Amanda's book, New York Cocktails. That
Such a stylish cover.
And like least we can do, if we're going to have you guys on, at least we can do is promote the books and try to get you guys some book sales.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
So what do you guys got in your glasses right now? Amanda, let's start off with you.
All right. So I have the George Dickel Bottled and Bond, the first edition, not the second one. I love the second one too. But I just kind of saw that on the shelf. I wanted to have something that was that a female master blender or distiller, because in this case a master blender, brought to fruition, and it is very delicious, as it turns out, as a simple old fashioned, just with almond bitters and orange bitters and just a spritz of lemon. I don't like to keep the lemon in the glass because it makes it too bitter. And then the very last of my rye amaro cherries from last year.
And so how did you get the almond bitters and the orange bitters?
How did I get them? I did not make them.
You make them, right? Okay.
Yeah, so they're Fee Brothers almond bitters, and it's Reagan's orange bitters.
And the cherries, how did you make the cherries though? You said those are the last of your cherries.
Yeah, so I made the cherries last year. So they're on the Alcohol Professor, and I should probably repost this because it's getting to be sour cherry season. I have a recipe. I have several recipes for pickling cherries, and this is the rye amaro recipe, but I do it with rum and vanilla. I do it with cognac or other brandy. I tried a shochu amaretto one last year, and that was pretty fantastic. That didn't last very long. That ended up being the favorite, which was interesting. So many ways to do it. Many ways you can make this recipe, and you can do it. You don't have to have sour cherries, as I prefer them because they retain their color and shape better than the cherries.
And you're not using pickle juice to pickle the cherries.
I am not. No, it's hooch. It's hooch. You pick the cherries, you make a syrup, you put the hooch in, you put it in a jar, and let time do its magic. And it really does get better and better each month. So and they will last a couple of years. And so these are now exactly a year old. I think they were made a year ago this week, and man, do they taste good.
Oh, good.
But they're also no longer available. So I need more cherries.
Thanks for sharing them with us. Mm-hmm. Lou, what's in your glass?
I feel underwhelmed at this point because I just have a simple thing to do. I'm just drinking neat whiskey. I have the Paul John Nirvana single malt, the unpeated single malt from Paul John, the Indian malt. I don't think I'd ever had an unpeated malt from Paul John before. I'd only had their peated whiskeys, and this is really nice.
It's beautiful. I love that whiskey.
Mm-hmm.
Don't forget you are Hey, welcome to put in your comments in the various chat rooms online on our Facebook page, also on YouTube and on Periscope. If you're watching us on Twitter, don't try responding to the tweet with this video in it because we won't see it till after the show. But we love getting your comments. We're already getting them in from, as Ashley Penny put it, hot Ireland and freezing cold Tasmania. So the other ends of the world. Greg in Paris says, hi, everyone, sweating here at 31 degrees Celsius at home, so no whiskey. And 31 degrees Celsius is hot.
Yes.
And just for the record, in my glass, I have the new Wild Turkey, bottled in bond, the 17-year-old Master's Keep that Eddie Russell just unleashed on the world. Largely doing research because next Thursday I'm leading an American whiskey tasting online for the Whiskey Exchange, and Eddie's going to be one of the panelists, along with Jay Arisman of New Riff Distillery and Paul Letko of Few Spirits in Chicago. So I wanted to taste a little of this bottled in bond, and I just finished posting my tasting notes for it at the WhiskyCast website. Take a look at it, but wait till after the video's done. Wait till after we're done with this webcast, guys. So what do you guys thinking about with the world of whiskey these days? Texas just closed their bars again today because of COVID-19. The governor ordered them all shut at noon except for takeout orders.
Yeah.
Governor Cuomo in New York keeps threatening to close everything back down if your neighbors, Amanda, can't behave themselves.
I know.
Public. And Lou,
well, Florida closed too, right?
What? Yeah, Florida did as well.
Florida closed too? Yeah.
And Lou, you're still in Pennsylvania, the land of the free and the home of the whiskey-less, apparently, according to the state. Part.
Yeah, well, things are opening up a little bit more, but it's still, when you have state control, you can control the state.
Funny how that works.
What's going to happen here? Everybody was thinking that we might be getting past this and we can start opening bars up again. And for instance, I know Jack Rose in DC, they opened up the roof garden for people outside, but the inside is still closed. But at some point here, if this second wave hits very soon, we are all going to be screwed again.
Yeah, I'm really worried about that. I have to say that even though I felt incredibly cooped up during the colder months as this was happening, and I'm happy to say I happen to have a nice stoop, so people have been coming over and we've been having stoop sessions, and that's been a lot of fun. I am not at all comfortable even with outdoor dining. Oh, hello, Jasper. Hey, everybody. This is Jasper. I am not at all.
I don't really I realized how big Jasper is from your pictures on Facebook.
He's
a good sized cat.
Yeah, but I'm not even comfortable with the outdoor situation, because if you have a server, that person is still touching something that someone has put their lips to, even if they're not touching the part that they did and put their fingers to. People are not wearing gloves as they're enjoying their beverage. They're not wearing masks. They have to take it off to sip.
Yeah.
And that server is putting their lives at risk. They're putting other people's lives at risk. It's not a good situation. So I really think that unless it's a self-service, and I'm so sorry, servers, because I know you need the work. I hear you. You definitely need the work. Unemployment's not enough to sustain you, and I totally get it. You need the work. You need the tips. You need something. And unfortunately, our government isn't taking care of you, and it's brought us to this point, and it's a dangerous point, and it's not something that I really wish we didn't have to do this. I don't want to not see people. I don't want places to be closed, but I also don't think it's safe for them to be open, even in that capacity.
And the UK is opening up its pubs next weekend.
Yeah, the whole pub to go inside.
And with 1 meter of social distancing, are you kidding me?
That's it. That's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I get it.
Well, I've seen some studies about transmission, that if it's really good air handling, you're in pretty good shape. But nobody has that. Unless you're in a cigar bar, they don't tend to have a lot of air exchange in restaurants because it stirs things up, and I I just don't say. We did outdoor dining once and went back to takeout because it was just freaking everybody out.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody us. Yeah. And I mean, I pick up and I stuff a bunch of money in the tip jar, and sorry, I'm going back and eating at home.
Yep. We have some great comments already coming in from Tracer Bullet. Old-fashioned here, too, made with PX sherry as the sweetener instead of sugar,
That's
which
cool.
is really interesting. And Chris Ratcliffe has an old-fashioned with a big old hunk of ice in there. I didn't realize that the term big old hunk was used in the UK. I thought that was sort of a back-home term down south.
Yeah.
And Tyrone Cote says, hello from Nova Scotia. Come for the COVID-free atmosphere. Stay for the seafood.
I wish.
Yeah, the Nova Scotia Tourism Bureau will be signing on for that slogan really quickly here. And Ratcliffe says on his honeymoon, he had a governor at the Intercontinental Buckhead. That's where he got it from in Atlanta. Basically an old-fashioned, but made with brown sugar and fee black walnut bitters.
Yum.
Nice.
Oh, nice.
From Norway, sitting in the garden, Morten Adolfsson, sitting in the garden in the south of Norway, where the clock is just past 11 p.m., and it's still 22 degrees Celsius. And in Norway this time of the year, I'm betting the sun is still up as well. Jim Cook, a Pellegrino limoncello plus Mad River Rye equals summer drink.
That sounds fabulous.
Nice, yeah.
I love, wow.
And Graham Fraser says it's a pleasant 17 degrees Celsius here in Sterling with more rain on the way. 17 degrees is about, I think about 60 degrees Fahrenheit, if I remember correctly. And Greg points out that Chris points out rather that 1 meter is with additional protections.
Okay.
Yeah.
What, like a diving helmet?
What?
What would the additional protections be? A big fishbowl over your head?
Yeah, the cone of silence from Get Smart back.
Yeah.
As much as I love going to pubs and getting a pint, I don't think you could get me into one with anything short of a hazmat suit right now.
Yeah, sadly. And I was very cavalier right before lockdown. I was actually working on something that has been postponed of my own volition. I should add. I was actually working on my second book, all about New York City bars. It was my choice, not the publisher's choice. I want to make that very clear. They've been amazing. They've been incredibly supportive, but I needed to not write this while everything was locked down. This book that was going to be coming out in the winter about drinking in bars that you can't go to now. And we need to really examine what that's going to look like later. But right before then, even though I knew it was probably dangerous, I was going to a ton, and I was very lucky not to get sick, but I know I had a couple of close calls because I was in places where I know the staff got infected later on.
Oh, God.
And especially one incident at Long Island Bar, I was there pretty much the day before Toby Cicchini got incredibly ill. And I just, no.
And that's scary because I know you've been hanging out with your parents a lot, Amanda.
And, no, I have not. I've been hanging out with my parents online a lot.
Okay. You've seen the pictures on social media.
Yeah. So we have a weekly Zoom call where, and I taught them how to make old fashions and Negronis from afar. I'm very proud of this. And so they got on Zoom. It's been mostly every Saturday around this time, and we have a drink together. But last week, for the very first time in 3 months, I saw them in person. And that was amazing. And I will see them hopefully on July 4th.
And they're both,
I haven't seen my mom since February.
Oh, man. Yeah.
I haven't been more than 5 miles from my house since mid-March. And then only to go to the grocery store and the hardware store. Pretty much.
But this is a weird thing for me, actually. I was having this conversation with friends last night on the stoop. The requisite 6 feet apart, of course. And, we in the industry have these events that we go to, and we have, and on the nights that we don't have events, we can go to a bar. And one of the things I miss the absolute most being in lockdown, the experience of being in a bar, the atmosphere, but the organic conversation that occurs, even, you know, with total strangers at the bar. One of my favorite things of all time is when you have at least 5 stools in a row all having the same conversation. Maybe the bartender's involved too if they're not too busy. And I'm finding it's harder to talk to people when when there's this flat screen. I'm finding it, because I'm alone, I don't have anybody else to talk to but Jasper. I'm finding that I'm having difficulty making conversation now.
Do you find yourself answering for Jasper?
Well,
you do, don't you?
I mean, because I've been watching this series of videos on Instagram with this sheepadoodle named Bunny that my wife showed me, where they've taught the dog to talk by pressing keypad buttons on the floor.
Oh, Lord.
And the dog can say "park now" by pressing 2 different buttons. And when they say "in a little bit," and it'll go "park now, love you, mom," and press the buttons. And I'm looking at this and I'm just going, oh my God, this is amazing. I didn't know dogs could do this. And to be able to do this in quarantine conditions when you've got nothing better to do, teach your dog to talk.
That's pretty wild.
It's rough, so to speak.
Yeah, no, I
Sorry.
kind of don't want to know what Jasper's thinking. I think it's fine. I think that fourth wall doesn't need to be broken.
I'm actually having a different problem in that, I mean, my wife and my daughter and I are all working from home, and I have no alone time anymore. I used to, but I mean, I just drove 4 hours down here from our other place in central Pennsylvania, and I was all by myself for 4 hours, and it was actually kind of nice.
I heard somebody talking about Zipcar was doing, and I'm not sure where I heard this. I think this may have been the other day on the webcast. I'm not sure where I heard this, but Zipcar was noticing that they were getting a lot of cars rented, but there were no miles being put on them. So they stuck some cameras in cars to see what was going on. People were renting Zipcars, sitting in the car, turning it on, turning the air conditioner on, and then just chilling for an hour because they wanted to be alone with their family. That's brilliant.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we got a comment here for Amanda. I think this is from your father.
Oh, God.
About the wines we had.
About the wines we had.
Is this your father that just messaged us?
So we're on a WhiskyCast broadcast. So apologies, everybody, but
Okay.
I said to my father that if I am risking my life and theirs to finally make the crossing across the river, they better go down to the wine cellar and bring me something good. Well, so we did something that was completely unexpected. We had a Lynch Bage comparison. We had Lynch Bage Blanc, a newish one, but they should be consumed fresh anyway, and in 1989. And they were both absolutely amazing, and it was completely worth it. And Dad, I love you, and Mom, and I'm so glad I made the trek over for that. And well, to see you, of course, but to drink your wine.
And Amanda's dad says they're very proud of your book and your writing in general. And your mom and dad are enjoying the Boulevardier that you gave them on Father's Day. It's
awesome.
Terrific.
That came from Travel Bar.
So
shout out to Travel Bar.
So we have a question from Aaron Krause. What's the future of whiskey and cocktail writing in the era of COVID? What do you guys think it is? Are we going to be doing more and more online stuff like this? Or I'm beginning to wonder with the economic cutback, how much longer regular magazines are going to be able to survive at times.
I've been waiting to see that happen.
Why do you think that, Mark? I mean, aren't people reading at home? Isn't this the time for magazines to be thriving because people have the time to read them?
Yeah, but what about people? What about what drives magazines? What drives magazines is ad sales.
Yeah,
and I think companies are cutting back.
That's true. That's
true.
I
think I'm starting to see finally people cutting back on mad whiskey purchasing too. You know, there's a lot of people just don't have. I mean, they don't have a job. And I mean, I'm not I'm sorry, I shouldn't say that that's a good thing. It's not a good thing.
No.
It's a bad thing. But at the same time, I was starting to wonder if we had a, God, I don't want to say bubble because I'm not thinking about that, but a bit of an unrealistic thing. I know we've seen it in beer. I read about beer as well, and I mean we've seen people buying beer that they really can't afford, that they're like just not getting other stuff and getting these beers because they really want to have them, but they're like $30 for a 4-pack.
Whoa!
Like, how do you keep that? How do you keep that up?
Who the hell charges $30 for a 4-pack and can sleep at night?
Oh my God, lots of people apparently. That was one of the first conversations we had back in like mid-March and early April. Is this finally mean the end of the $25 4-pack?
Yeah.
And I think it has. I mean, that's going away. Because a lot of those are single releases sold at the brewery and cash-only transactions, which nobody's doing that anymore.
Yeah. But I think a lot of people too have been a bit fatalistic about this time. In that, okay, if we're going to be stuck at home, if we're not going to be able to have this normal life, we should enjoy the things that we have. And so maybe they bought that and we're kind of holding on to it for a little while. I mean, I know beer doesn't keep the way that other things do.
Keeps a few months, but
But I've been like, let's open stuff. I'm ready to open stuff. What's it sitting here for,
Well, the other thing, I mean, we actually sat down and looked at how much we were saving on just gasoline. Holy crap.
Yeah.
I mean, between gasoline and tolls, we saved an awful lot of money.
Yeah. I'm saving a good $150 a month by not going anywhere.
Yeah.
That's a lot for me.
I'm using more gas in the lawnmower, the pressure washer, the head trimmers, and stuff than we are in the car.
Yes. Yeah.
And the yards never looked better. And I got to admit, I'm not the one doing most of the work.
Yeah, I mean, I just mowed the lawn this afternoon. So.
I took out the trash, put it in the bin outside
There you go.
the building.
And as Chris Ratcliffe points out, newsstand sales in the UK are off a cliff here.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
Ashley Penny in Ireland, pubs with food open there Monday with 1 meter of distance. You can't sit at the bar. You have to spend at least €9 on food for a toasty grilled cheese sandwich. Time limit of 105 minutes, then you have to leave. Plus, most bars you have to reserve.
Yeah.
And the bar staff
Wow.
and local has already said, come on ahead and we'll look after the regulars. Will they enforce them? We'll see. Oh boy, that sounds like a disaster waiting to happen.
Yeah, that's a can of worms right there.
It is a can of worms. It's sad. Because part of the best things about bars is spontaneity, right? When you show up.
Yeah. Yeah.
David Owen wants to know, has anyone tried the new 10-year-old Cask-Strength Ben Romick Batch 1? I'm not sure if I have or not. I'll have to check the webcast or the website for that one. Have you guys?
Too. Very
Nope.
much so.
Not this guy.
Rasmus Just, Lagavulin 8-year, final word, unbelievable. Rasmus,
Good stuff.
the Scotch guru in the States for Diageo, so yes, he would be drinking a Lagavulin 8-year.
Jealous. That's good stuff. I don't have any.
Greg and Serafian in Paris points out, what do you mean by new, David Owen? The 2009 is from 2019. I love it, and did a video where it is highlighted on his Greg's Whiskey Guide website. I think it's the one that just is still getting its way out to a few markets here. And our buddy Raj Saberwal points out that he's been going back to blend a palate refresher before going on to single malts.
Nice.
He also thinks that virtual parents could be a real thing in the future.
Go. Hi, Raj.
You find, though, that people are actually switching back to blends and trying to go back and try something that's out of their comfort zone because people have been so used to wanting single malts for so long that they're willing to try blends again just to get out of that pattern.
There's some beautiful blends, and there's something to be said about them. Last night, when my friends came over, they brought over a whiskey. They brought over strawberry infused whiskey, and they didn't just use one whiskey to do it. They decided to blend a couple because they knew that this one would bring out the fruitiness and this one would bring out the acidity, and it was really gorgeous. You know, just this very simple thing, but they put it all together, and I think there's really something to be said about a blend and you know what that brings to the table. It's not a dirty word.
No.
No, blends are not a dirty word at all. I mean,
Yeah.
Not at all.
It's a different experience, but without the blends, we wouldn't have all those great single malts.
Yeah. Well, that's what pays for them.
Blends in their own way because you're blending different, most of the time, unless it's a single barrel, you're blending different casks in the warehouse.
Exactly.
Which is something people don't realize.
And if you look at the screen down at the bottom, Jim Cook points out that Compass Box has an event on Sunday celebrating dads.
Woo!
So there's the website there. I'll leave that up for a minute or two if people want to write that down since we are talking about blends.
Yeah.
Crumpler here has a rare cocktail night. Ounce and a half of Wild Turkey 101, a half an ounce of Ardbeg 10, topped with Northern Neck Ginger Ale, a drop of Angostura Bitter, and lime.
That sounds amazing.
That sounds good.
That sounds great. I love that idea.
I think
I love that shout out to Northern Neck. Good stuff.
That's cool.
I've got some Fentimans ginger beer in the refrigerator that might go with that pretty well. I may try that later on. Yeah. Chip, that's a good question, though. For those of us, what do you do to alleviate palate fatigue? It gets more and more difficult to find higher and higher end scotch that is available and affordable. That's why people switch over to blends, switch over to bourbons, ryes, and trying anything under the sun just to see what's out there.
Yeah.
I switch up a lot. I mean, I'll go on a peat vacation for a couple of months and just not drink anything peated for 2 months, and then come back to it. I did the same thing with beer. I'll stop drinking IPAs for a couple of months, and I'm not going to say it takes discipline and willpower. It's just something you do, but it sure makes them taste better when you go back to them.
Yeah, that's a really good point. That's true. When I haven't had peats for a while and I go back to them, I love them so much. I love them. Absence definitely makes the heart grow fonder.
Yes. I'm switching to bourbon.
Oh, you have another bottle with you. That was fun.
Oh, yeah, I do.
I'm sorry. Is that the same one you were drinking before, Lou?
No, this is the Elijah Craig B520. I think I had the A120 last time I was on.
Yeah, I've got the B520 somewhere here within reach, but I'm enjoying this Wild Turkey right now. And since we have a wine guru here as well in Amanda, let me pull the question up from Tyrone Cote. He wants to know about recommendations for a cocktail made with wine and whiskey.
Oh, that's a great question. So there are a couple. I actually wrote an article about this. You can make a full-on Manhattan using red wine. You can also make, in the summertime, you can make a fantastic Negroni using rosé instead of the sweet vermouth. Obviously there's sparkling wine cocktails, French 75s, Negroni Sbagliato. And I love a New York sour with a bit of wine drizzled over the top. It just depends on how much red wine you want to use in general. But there's a lot of things you can do with whiskey and wine together.
Let's explain that New York sour, Amanda, because Rasmus just answered the question online.
Yes.
Just that very one.
I love a New York sour. Sour should have a little bit of red wine drizzled over them.
So how do you make a New York sour? Just what do you replace it with? Or what do you put in there?
There's no replacement. So actually you're making a straight whiskey sour, the same recipe, just however much whiskey. I usually use about close to maybe 1 3/4 ounces of whiskey and the sour mix, and definitely with egg white. You want egg white with this one. And dry shake it first, then to emulsify it, and then with the ice, and then at the very end, once you've poured it into your rocks glass, drizzle a little bit of wine over the top. You can make pretty patterns in it if you want to. You don't have to, and it's really delicious.
Interesting question from Aaron Krause. Must be incredibly difficult for distillers to get their newest whiskeys into consumers' hands now.
Yeah.
Well, I think we're starting to see a lot of these ones that I think people had, the brands had stopped releasing a lot of stuff early on in the pandemic, but now they're getting to the point where they're starting to release the stuff they would normally release at this time of the year, because we normally would get a lot of those summertime releases heading into the fall. The ones we've been drinking, like the Old Tubs, the Wild Turkey, things like that.
I've not been drinking Old Tub. Somebody send me some Old Tub. I haven't had Old Tub yet.
Send
a man Old Tub.
You have Amanda's address. Amanda.
Yeah, and get me some damn Dickel while you're at it.
Right. He needs Dickel. I need
Old
Tub.
Yeah. You didn't get the Dickel bottled in bond, the second one, did you?
Yeah.
No. And I was so nice to them. No, that's got nothing to do with it. Damn it. Come on.
Well, I think it's worth pointing out because when you look at, we get to try it. We're blessed in this business. We're all blessed in that we get to try
absolutely
beyond.
But we don't get to try everything.
Nope. This just proves it.
And just proves it.
If Lou didn't get bottled,
and I don't know.
I didn't get the Old Tub, something's wrong.
I'm sorry, go ahead, Amanda. I stepped on you there.
If Lou didn't get the Dickel and I didn't get the Old Tub, something's wrong. And so that's...
And I didn't get the new Weller. But
I did. Okay, that's weird.
Yeah, I didn't get that either.
And to explain how this sometimes works is that with certain distilleries, you'll be on a list, and they will tell you, okay, we're sending you a sample. We just want to confirm this is the address. With a certain distillery in Frankfort, Kentucky, they send out a news release, and you can't just say, put me on the list. They don't keep a list. It's whoever requests first after the email goes out. And I think with the latest Weller, I was emailed 5 minutes later and was told, all the samples have been spoken for. You're not getting one. Okay, that's fine. It happens.
There's a problem with this Elijah Craig. It's drinking too fast.
The folks seem to leak on those, don't they?
The evaporation rate is very high.
I find that with Redbreast a lot. Somebody was commenting on.
Oh my God, yes.
Yeah,
Redbreast tends to eat a hole through my glass, I think.
Yeah.
So what new whiskeys have you guys gotten to try recently that you're impressed with?
The Weller. Sorry. No, the Weller was...
No, I'm not saying it so you can rub it in. That's fine. Go ahead.
No, the Weller was really beautiful. Actually, I tried... what's some of the funkier stuff I had? Oh gosh, there was one from Pennsylvania that was really cool. There was a rye from Pennsylvania that I really liked. Yeah, and I'm trying to remember the name of it now, and I don't know why it's escaping me.
I don't know.
There's a lot of them. Dad's Hat, Wiggle.
No, newish.
Liberty Pole.
New old. Old distillery, new revamping. Probably sort
what?
Yeah.
Oh, I think I know. Oh, geez.
Yeah, starts with an S, I think. Oh, I feel terrible.
One that I'm whiffing on this one.
I'll get it.
The Hochstetter?
What's that?
It's not the Hochstetter.
No, it's not.
Okay, all right.
It's the one that used to be part of Bombergers that they had the one.
Stolen Wolf.
That's it.
Stolen Wolf?
Because I was thinking Dick, and I was trying to remember Dick's last name, Dick Stoll.
Yeah. That's good. Yeah. There's a lot of great stuff coming out of Heaven Hill. I've really liked. The Bottle and Bond came out late last year, but the Larceny, the newer, that's beautiful.
That was one of the ones, the barrel proof Larceny I got recently. It was really good.
So good.
Lou, how about you? Besides the Old Tub.
I just had a sample of an Imperial Stout finish of a Irish Clonakilty.
I love Clonakilty.
Yeah, they're doing like a series of beer finishes, beer in the barrel and then whiskey in the barrel. they're nice. And I mean, it's one of those things where the influence isn't overdone. So it's good. It's good. I think Imperial Stout and whiskey work well. It's almost, there's a lot of IPA finishes and IPA twists on whiskey. And I get that because IPA is really, really popular in beer circles. I just don't think it works that well with whiskey.
I don't either.
Yeah, I like the Imperial Stouts better. They work better. Actually, as far as that goes, I would really like to see more Applejack and Calvados finishes. I think those are
the
marvelous.
The Sagamore Calvados finish.
Yes!
So
yes!
good.
Oh my God, yes. Is that what that is? I saw that Sagamore bottle. I was wondering. Look at you, dude. Oh, that's so good.
Full disclosure, Sagamore Spirit is a sponsor.
Well, yeah, but I didn't know that.
Bravo. Bravo. They're doing some good stuff in general.
Yes.
And I mean, and not just in terms of what they're putting in the bottle. I think in terms of what they're doing with the money into the community in Baltimore, and actually even as far as that goes, the money they're putting in the horse farm. Not Sagamore exactly, but Under Armour. Just I think really good citizens. So.
And your dad is still with us, Amanda. Tell them about the dad event with the guys yesterday.
Tell them about our dad event with the guy. Oh yeah. So we did. So Jim Beam did a Father's Day tasting. Did a Zoom thing with Fred and Freddie No, and Dad participated.
Oh, nice.
And was uncharacteristically reserved and only asked one question out of line, and that ended up being a good thing because Fred then got to tell. He asked a great question actually, which was how did the modern American whiskey boom start? What did Fred know?
Oh.
Jim Beam think was the reason why we're all talking about American whiskey now. And
what did Fred know, and when did he know it?
Yeah, when did Fred know?
Sorry. It's the whiskey talking.
And his answer was amazing. And then he talked about going on tour with the likes of Jimmy Russell and Elmer T. Lee, and probably wouldn't have told those stories had my dad not asked that question. So that was cool.
Hey, speaking of Fred, and this wasn't intended to be teed up or anything, but I had the chance to talk with him probably after your event yesterday, and the full interview is going to be on this weekend's WhiskyCast. But I want to give you a little sample and just play a little bit of this for you because Freddie kind of broke a little bit of news with us, and I wanted to share this with you.
He's taking on more and more responsibilities every day, even during the Corona thing. He's been working diligently on all these different fronts. He's on conference calls way more than me. And when people get into stuff, I always say, well, you might not be talking to Freddie because, I got to ask you, hey, what do they think the next 5 to 10 years? I said, well, I can tell you what my future is going to be, retirement in 5 to 10 years. But, that's what you're supposed to do when you get that. Dad was about my age when he kind of turned things over to me. And once he saw that I had things well in hand and, had the passion and, really wanted to make sure we're making high quality liquids. I'm proud of everything he's doing, and he's doing a great job. So, let him go. He's young and spirited and a lot like his grandfather. So I can see a lot of Booker in Freddie as I watch him and work with him. It's a pleasure. It's been great for me. I love it. It's good. I know all fathers would love to have their sons follow in their footsteps and do that. I know a lot of my friends tell me how lucky I am that their sons didn't do like that. I said, well, maybe I drew the right straw or something. I don't know.
Aww.
And that, of course, is Fred talking about Freddie No, his son, who is in line probably in the next year or so to become the next master distiller, the 8th in the line at Jim Beam of Beam Family Master Distillers. Fred told us yesterday that he probably has another year or so. He was going to originally take Freddie down to Australia this year, and introduce him to the market down there and take him to Europe and sort of do a farewell tour. But obviously coronavirus put a crimp in those plans. So I think we're probably looking at maybe another year or so before Fred No steps aside and turns things over to Freddie.
I gotta say, I don't know how, we were talking about blended whiskeys earlier. The little books were, just got better and better. That third one, made from the big full strength versions of the small batch collection, I just thought that was a master class. That was really good.
I do have a little bit of detail. Fred dropped a little bit about 4th edition coming soon.
Yep.
Oh, nice.
But we do know it's going to be called Lessons Learned. And Freddie picked that from the lessons he picked up from his dad along the way, because the day before on Wednesday, Freddie gave Fred the first bottle of the little book. He had a bottle made up for him of the new batch. It hasn't been bottled yet officially.
Yeah.
But Fred had it bottled for him, or for Fred's Father's Day present.
Nice. That's nice.
Let's put that career in perspective, because I think Fred really has sort of come into his own the last maybe 10 years or so.
He absolutely
After being in Booker's shadow for as long as he was, because that was a big ass shadow.
Oh God!
And I saw that shadow. I had the pleasure of meeting Booker when I was at Astor, when I was a spirits buyer at Astor. That was in his final years, and that was like, whoa! I wasn't quite prepared for that.
Yeah.
Something.
Fred, was something else.
Lou, what do you think is going to be Fred No's legacy when he finally does step down?
Wow, that's because I have to be honest with you. When I first met Freddie, and when he was, or Fred, I should say, but Freddie's the young one now. We kind of thought of him as a placeholder, just stepping in and keeping things going. But holy crap, the man has just, I don't know if he grew into the job or if we just opened up our heads a little bit and saw what he was doing. He just knows so much about the whiskey, about the brand, about the history. I think the main thing that you can say about what Fred's done, what Fred No has done for Beam and for us is, Booker started making that personal connection, and I think Fred's really, really made that into a solid link. I know Fred went out and did an awful lot of work with accounts, with I know that I've talked to a number of people, veterans, people in the military. Fred went to Class 6 stores a lot and really built strong bonds with the brands there. I think that's going to be his legacy. I think he really took, we all saw that kind of generation of distillers who came out of the distillery and into the retail arena. I know Jimmy did it, Elmer T did it, Parker did it, but I think Fred took it that next step and really broadened that bridge.
And he also showed, the thing is, and I think when the Suntory partnership happened, it made sense to me because I could see that Fred was embracing, we're talking about blending again. And Suntory's whole thing is blending, and Bakers and Booker's and Knob Creek. All of those labels, and Basil Hayden's, all of those labels are about blending things that come from the warehouse. You're seeing how different flavors come together. And so that partnership made sense to me from a flavor perspective. And I love that since the Suntory partnership, when, for us, when we get these presentations of the new whiskey, we get to have the little components and see how they all come together. And it makes total sense to me that Freddie is now going, started as a, we were introduced to Freddie and his talents through blending.
Right.
And so we're going to be seeing what he can do in other aspects of the business. And I think he's there. It makes total sense to me.
Yeah, I don't think Fred's legacy will be defined by what he distilled.
Yeah.
He wasn't really a development guy. He came up with a few things, but I think it's more in the terms of communicating and teaching and being the educator, and sort of overseeing it and carrying on the legacy is where he's going to be known for, what he's going to be known for over the years.
Absolutely.
Amanda, I never got to meet Booker, so I'm jealous. Tell me about meeting Booker now.
I think my hand still hurts from shaking his hand. Dang.
It was an immense hand.
Yes. Yeah, that was really something in the hat. And, oh God. I didn't know it at the time how incredibly special that was, and then he was gone, and it was just like, oh.
Yeah, I actually played in a jug band with him, just like a kind of setup thing at one of the bourbon queues, and I played the washtub bass, and Booker was blowing on a jug, and I can't remember who it was. Somebody, I suspect he might have been a ringer. Somebody was playing the harmonica.
Fantastic.
But it was a hoot.
You can't fake that. It had to be a ringer.
No, you had to be a ringer. Yeah.
See, I am jealous of both of you because WhiskyCast started in the fall of 2005, and we lost Booker the year before, so I never got to meet him or talk to him. That's when people ask what's one of the regrets, anybody that you wanted to talk to that you didn't get to, and Booker is the one, because the story I would have loved to have gotten.
I was just talking to somebody about this. I can't remember if it was last night or the night before. Somebody online. And one of the first time I went to Kentucky Bourbon Fest, I remember they had Booker set up on in the gala, they always have the booths and they go crazy with them. They had a front porch, and Booker was sitting in a rocking chair, and I was there when Jimmy Russell came walking up to him, and they saw each other, and Booker says, "Well, Jimmy, you old coonhound, how are you?" I'm never forgetting this.
That's amazing.
Oh my God.
Yeah, because those were buddies back in the day between Jimmy, Eddie, and Jimmy Parker, obviously, Booker, Elmer T, all those guys. Yeah. That would have been fun.
Yeah, it was a time.
I don't think you could have repeated most of what they said, but it would have been.
Yeah, you old coonhound was about as far as I'd want to go on that one.
Yes.
Gracious.
Lou, what are you working on now that you got the new book out? It's out and done. You're resting on your laurels?
I have to be completely honest with you. At this point, I'm trying to push that damn book up the hill of COVID, because I had to cancel all the book tours. Had to cancel almost everything. I think I had maybe 5 events before things started going south. So, I mean, as far as book stuff, that's mostly what I'm doing. I hate to admit it because I sound like every other damn writer when I say it, but I'm also working on a novel that has nothing to do with whiskey.
Not you know what I mean?
No, I mean, it's just, it's kind of fun. I had some time, so I was thinking about it. My daughter's helping with research, and it's like an adventure novel, just kind of a throwaway thing, but it's fun.
Hey, that's how Tom Clancy got started.
There you go.
Exactly. He was an insurance salesman, for God's sake.
Yeah, wasn't that a commuting thing? You wrote that on his commute or something, or?
Yeah, something like that. I actually met him. Somewhere down in the basement is a galley copy of The Hunt for Red October. I met him like a month before it came out, and it was at long story. I'll skip that, but it was at a gaming convention, and we actually war gamed the last part of Hunt for Red October, and I played one of the U.S. submarines. and I have a signed copy of the galley proofs from Tom Clancy to the CEO USS Pogey. Tom Clancy. I'm like, that's so fast.
That is cool. I have a first.
That's pretty cool.
Cover the old Naval Institute Press edition was the first.
Exactly. Yes. And we're just like, oh my God, we have a bestseller. What do we do? I'll tell you something else. Once he had that book, obviously nobody ever edited him again because the stuff they edited out is all in the following books. He like went crazy on detail, and they're like, "Oh no, you're getting carried away here." And the next time there's like, "Yes, Mr. Clancy, we'll leave that in. Sure, no problem."
Yeah.
And I mean, as an editor, that part is awesome for me.
Val Caruso's going, and you played in a jug band with him, talking about Booker. Was there any pictures of this anywhere?
What's that?
Pictures of this?
I'm afraid not. I would. You know what? Actually, it's entirely possible there is somewhere. I should ask someone about that. Yeah, because that was his last bourbon cue.
That would be amazing.
Yeah.
That should be
that
found.
would be fun to see.
Yes.
And Val's going, you played in a jug band with Tom Clancy. No, it was Booker.
No, Booker.
That's kind of boring.
Tom Clancy doing a jug band.
Yeah, I'm not really seeing Tom Clancy with a jug. I'm not doing it.
Graham Fraser's questioning, is the future of whiskey writing just online? We discussed this a little earlier, and Graham's going,
wow.
So do I. There's something to be said for seeing a physical, tactile book that you can hold in your hands.
Yes, absolutely. Listen, I'm worried about this, and I've had to, as an editor, I've had to pivot with my writers. They want to write about all this fanciful stuff in their collection, and it's like, that's fine with the caveat that no one can get it, which is not so fun for readers, honestly, like to be reading about something they can't drink. And so, yeah, you have to be really careful these days about what's available and what's online and what can be delivered to you or what's going to be at your local store that you can curbside pick up. It's a very precarious situation right now. And it's going to be that way. And also with the tariffs, and maybe there's going to be more of them.
Yeah. We haven't even gotten around to discussing that little fiasco yet.
Yeah, I mean, there is an election coming, so probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, at least until November, right?
Well,
yeah.
to be fair, as of now, they didn't add whiskeys or additional whiskeys into the new products that could be considered, but all the European whiskeys before are still on the list from last time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Could add those in.
No,
were there some exceptions that weren't covered under the tariffs? Like Irish single malts or something? Wasn't there
only
some tiny little loophole?
Tariffs are single malts from Scotland and Northern Ireland. They have to be products of the UK. Basically, it's primarily Bushmills. Is the only
Bushmills.
They hard out for Bushmills. It's so weird.
Because and I tried to ask people at the U.S. Trade Representative's office about this, and they weren't willing to admit that we didn't realize that England and Wales make single malts too.
I'm sorry.
But
geography. Not our long suit.
Like Bailey's from Ireland on the list.
Oh my God.
Now the problem we've got with if everything goes online is, and why you still have to have books, is because, let's face it, 95% of consumers are still not willing to pay for online content.
Yeah.
And there's no way to writers unless you're writing books or print.
True.
And I mean, most of us don't make a living out of this.
No. It's difficult. I mean, the book thing, I did really well with tasting whiskey, but I've got 8 other books that I have not done really well with. You can't live on that.
No. Well, most of the time, Lou, do you get residual royalties from the books or no?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So you have
Yeah, they weren't fees. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Because with my book,
to be honest, I had really tiny advances on both books, so I paid off Tasting Whiskey pretty quickly. I was talking to I'm not going to name names, but I was talking to a writer who did a beer book that was a classic, huge sales, and it took him 11 years to pay off his advance. I was like, wow.
yeah.
Like, come on. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's not like we're, I don't know what. It's not like we're necessary. We're a luxury. I hate to say that, but I think about it all the time. And I mean, I know when I launched this book right in the middle of, the book came out literally 3 weeks before everything shut down. And I watched on Amazon as the sales were like, whee, and then just, and the things that were selling were cocktail books and, God help me, home distilling books. Home distilling books are selling like crazy.
Yeah.
Even though it's illegal in most places.
Right. I think the only place that's legal is New Zealand.
And
yeah, I don't know.
And we can answer Chris Ratcliffe's question here because your book came out in February. He wants to know, do publishers and editors look for content to go along with the whiskey surges like Christmas and Father's Day?
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
A year and a half out. They're looking for Christmas 2021.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, my publisher always aims for like September, October release. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this one was aimed for Father's Day, and nothing happened.
One of you guys got the ice cream truck in the neighborhood, or what?
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, he just.
I just recognize music. We need a whiskey truck that does that.
I know you do.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's going to tell you how dry I am. That's what it's
dry I am. In the jar.
Yeah. Yeah, it's too bad. If I was at the other house, I'd be doing this out on the front porch, and you could hear the Amish buggies clopping by. That'd be.
He just passed. Okay, it's over. Sorry, guys.
And Jim Cook points out, paid online content slowly advances. Look at the New York Times digital subscription numbers that keep growing. Maybe ScotchWhiskey.com would have made it with a small subscription fee.
Oh, God, I wish they were still around.
Yeah, so do I. Because they had good content.
They had great content. I mean, even the stuff that I didn't write. It was no, I just think that was and I was really surprised nobody stepped up on that. I was thinking that somebody was going to come out of the woodwork and sponsor them, or nothing.
I'm surprised.
Honestly, you know what? The SWA should have funded them.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Somebody should have.
Somebody should have. I mean, obviously I would have, but I'm not a billionaire, so I can't do that. Right.
Okay. Chris Ratcliffe has a great question. What song would a whiskey truck play?
Yeah. Well, I think it would depend on what kind of whiskey they were flogging.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
Irish,
is it Irish? Is it Scotch? Is it bourbon?
If we were in Ireland, it would be whiskey in a jar for sure.
Yeah.
Or Nancy.
Yeah. On the other hand, and here's an ugly question: what if it was Canadian whiskey?
A brew pub that's delivering growlers. We had the local brew pub here that was delivering for a while.
Nice.
Chris Ratcliffe points out, roll out the barrel.
Roll out the barrel.
Roll out the barrel would be a great one. Yeah.
And also whiskey and ice cream could make it, though. I had some whiskey and ice cream last night. I poured a little bit of Hazel Hayden's over some vanilla bean ice cream.
That sounds good.
Sure.
And Scott David Rittenbaugh, one says hello from Pittsburgh, Lou. But if people have their own professional grade fireworks, I guarantee you there are people distilling right now in their basements.
Good point.
I am certain there are people distilling, right? I've talked to some of them. I will deny that if asked, but yeah, it's definitely going on.
And Crumpler goes, give Bill Ricker a harumph for that one, for the comment about the brew pub delivering growlers. And Graham Fraser points out in Scotland, the ice cream van allegedly sells all kinds of illicit substances.
See, that's another thing that nobody's talked about. This has been a wild freaking West. I saw one article about this, but oh my God. And bars were just breaking the law openly and selling booze out the back door.
Yeah.
Which, you know what? Screw them. I don't care.
Yeah, you live in Pennsylvania, and
are you kidding? In Pennsylvania, bootleggers are heroes now.
Control. What?
Oh, God. I mean, I waited a month till I went to Jersey and bought booze.
Oh, that's right. You guys couldn't get booze for a while.
No, everything was closed.
That's ridiculous.
Well, you can go to the
I mean, it wasn't a problem for me. I've got enough whiskey. I'll never drink it. But
it's because you wanted the stuff you didn't have.
Oh, always, yeah. Well, actually, no. The worst thing is here in PA, it's wine too.
Sure.
Damn state has control of wine as well, which is insane. So, I mean, that's what we went to. I went to Jersey and bought a case of wine. I bought 2 cases actually, and I don't care if the LCB hears me. I don't care.
Right, because they were wrong.
I'd be happy to take that case to court.
Nice.
Well,
I would. I'd be the test case.
Yeah.
Let's have it. Let's do it.
What's the worst?
It's insane.
Yes.
I'd take the booze away, and you know what? Drank the evidence.
Prove it, guys. Yeah.
Love it.
Right? Yep.
Okay, Dave Kuhn is starting trouble tonight.
Okay.
What's annoying people who are writing whiskey articles now who know nothing? Rolling Stone about
the Rolling Stone piece. Oh my God. Oh my God.
About whiskey.
Oh.
Go ahead, guys. Knock this one out of the park.
Oh my God.
Lou, you and I were saying that we should have written that article.
Yes.
Yes.
I mean, you know what? I'd have written that article almost not quite for free, but oh my God.
Oh, that was such a disaster.
Terry Nation put a better article about whiskey than that idiot.
Here are the whiskeys I hate. Wow, it's a pretty good list.
Yeah. Nation, exactly.
Wow. Oh my God, so much wrong in that article.
So much wrong.
Yeah, I don't know why. I mean, I understand why those whiskeys were on the list because they were sponsored by Drizzly. I get that. You're making money. That's fine. I do have a problem with it, but it's not the major problem I have. There was just so much wrong in the piece. And honestly, it's so easy to find information on whiskey these days.
Yes.
I mean, the 3 of us have done that.
Right.
I mean, along with others, but I mean, for God's sake, we've put so much good information out there.
And Dave, I'm reading this Dave Concomer, that article was rubbish. But the thing is that what's scary to me is not enough people know that article was rubbish.
Right. It's like, okay. Double malted barley.
It is Rolling Stone. Rolling Stone knows.
I know.
They're very good about journalism. Great journalists write for Rolling Stone. Why did they? Who is? What? I don't know how that happened.
Hunter S. Thompson is spinning in his grave at this thought.
I'm pretty sure he's spinning in his grave pretty much 24/7.
And there was another one. I sent a correction to an editor, and I forget the publication, which I will not name because I've forgotten it, but I wouldn't name them to protect the guilty here. But the whole thing on Tennessee whiskey, and they were trying to point out that the secret ingredient in Tennessee whiskey is coal.
Yes.
Charcoal.
Yes, they put coal into whiskey.
You saw that.
That's exactly how that works.
Oh boy.
Yep.
Oh boy.
Yep, they just put it right in there. They just put it like right in the barrel. Like just put a lump of coal in the barrel. Yeah, that's good. Make a diamond.
Wow.
Yeah.
And
set that shit on fire.
Legal distilling is an American tradition going all the way back to George Thorpe. I'm assuming Thorpe was one of the Pilgrims.
Oh yeah, I mean there's a moonshiner's picnic every summer in Pennsylvania.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I remember. Thomas Mackenzie, the itinerant distiller. remember talking to him one time when he was still at Finger Lakes. He's like, well, you know, it's all the Appalachians, just a bunch of guys back in the woods making whiskey. Like, yeah, I guess so.
And you saw the quote from Dave Kuhn here, right?
I did.
It's not equal to single batch. I screamed at my phone. Yeah.
Yeah, that was so bad.
And Dave Kuhn, hey
There's
guys, have you heard about Maker's Mark? Try it.
oh,
Anybody that knows about whiskey knows about Maker's Mark. Yes, we all
Oh my God. That was such a
I have to
revelation.
feel Jasper just thinking about this. It's just
I have
so-
to drink.
Valerie is telling us to stop it. I'm not sure what she wants us to stop or what. But
Yeah, we have gotten a little off.
Known as a nationally syndicated magazine that
See, I'm gonna believe that that's what Valerie's talking about. That Rolling Stone needs to stop it.
yeah, I hope.
I'm buying that. Yeah.
I mean,
Wow.
I've except for this one article where it was one simple correction, and I had to explain to them the definition of charcoal is a substance you take from burning wood down and things like that, while coal is a rock, for crying out loud. Okay, Valerie's telling us, not you, the idiot article. Thank you, Valerie, for clarifying that. That's
Bless you, Valerie. I knew it. I thought the best of you.
And Graham Fraser points out, it's approaching that time, Mark. What are Amanda and Lou's favorite ever whiskey drunk? So I'm assuming.
Oh, I got drunk on whiskey. It was just
Which one have you drunk that, as in past tense drink, not over imbibing drunk?
yes. Although Lou and I had a pretty good drunk in Kentucky once.
Oh God. Oh, you know, I had a really good drunk in Kentucky with Gary Regan one time. That was a good drunk.
Hollow alone.
To Gary.
Gary.
Gary,
Yeah.
When you were bringing up Negronis earlier, Amanda, I was thinking about that.
right? Yeah.
I miss him.
Well, as soon as you said the orange bitters thing.
Yeah, and Crumpler points out Rolling Stone has only been fit for cat litter liner for the last decade.
They have stepped in it a couple of times.
Yeah.
This is not the first one. Yeah.
Well,
Um,
Robin Williams joke.
just whiskey drunk.
Box once, the cat looked at it and said, "Why? That it'd be redundant."
Nice.
And Jim Cook, no, don't stop it. Come up with your own article full of whoppers that sound right that aren't, but aren't. Maybe for April 1st next year.
You know, I have thought about that. I have seriously thought about that. That would be a fun thing to do. I mean, you know, the art would be in how much can you slide by that only 2% of people would catch.
Yeah, but you know what? There'd be somebody who would find it after April 1st and think we were serious.
Yeah.
And then
No,
it would,
that's okay. That's okay. Put someone else's name on it.
No,
Yeah.
right. That stuff lives on forever on the internet now. And Scott Rittenbaugh, new book title for Lou, Drunk in Kentucky.
Drunk in Kentucky.
that'd be
I could
fun.
write that in a weekend.
And Dave Kuhn, can participle for drink. That's always been annoying. I've drank, I've drunken, I have drank. What? Yeah. What's the?
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's slam dunk.
I think a committee of copy editors needs to get on that.
Yep.
Oh no.
What?
You're gonna love this when you read it, guys.
Okay, this one, Mark, get that bottle of Sagamore out again. You've been to the distillery, right? In
Yeah.
Baltimore? I love the sign where it says low wines, high wines, higher wines. Because they've got that doubler. And I'm like, you guys only put that in so you could say higher wines. I swear to God. The only distillery in the world that has
Have a favorite,
higher wines.
Lines.
you guys have a favorite whiskey, or do you have a go-to whiskey?
Yes.
Wow. No, go ahead.
No, it's funny. I've been thinking about this question since I saw it, and the answer is I don't have one. I mean, there's just things that it depends on the weather and the mood and what's in front of me. What if I'm in a bar? What's behind the bar. I mean, for a while, my favorite go-to was just having some famous grouse on the rocks if I was in the right bar. And it's nothing fancy, but it's very comforting to me. And I love, actually, I do love Maker's Mark. I drink a lot of Maker's Mark when I'm out. When I was working on the last book and I had to be in dive bars, it was like, okay, they have Maker's Mark, I'm safe. That's gonna be, or Wild Turkey or something that's readily available.
Yeah.
Not that I don't drink craft whiskey. There's some great craft whiskeys out there that I enjoy too. It just kind of really depends on what's going on, and if it's if it's a really kind of like cold, blustery day, I want a peaty single malt. If it's day like today, I definitely wanted an American whiskey on the rocks, some kind, or a Japanese whiskey maybe. I was thinking actually my second choice was going to be Nika. I have the Nika from the barrel, and I was just going to put that on the rocks.
Yeah.
As well, and that would have been beautiful.
And Jim Cook.
I tend to gravitate to a bonded. I mean, yeah. I spend a lot of time sitting on the porch, just cogitating, and it's the rocks glass, big chunk, a big old chunk, I believe is the term that we're using now, and just drown it and bottle it and bond, and then keep going from there.
Jim Cook points out double malts are better than single malts because you get more for your money.
That might be true.
Twice the malt. Twice the malt.
And Chris Ratcliffe, yes, it's an irregular verb. I tasted, he, she drank. They were a hot mess.
Good thinking.
Words are so great. Bill Ricker points out, please don't distill in the basement. Far too flammable. If it's too big to fit under the stove hood, in the garden shed. Don't risk the whole.
Good thinking.
Yeah.
That's what I saw. I saw those books selling, and I thought, I'm going to start watching the news for garage fires. It's going to happen.
Oh, yeah.
It's going to happen.
We talk about people being too smart, too dumb to wear masks. They're too dumb not to blow up their garage.
Yeah. Sadly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's going to be one of these hold my beer, watch this moments. And as Dave Kuhn points out, Chris Ratcliffe's drams have kicked in. And Greg points out, if we go this way, how about history was a bit different? And Kennedy didn't go to Berlin in '63, but Hamburg. He might have rather said, Ich bin ein Hamburger instead of a Berliner.
Oh, my God. I'm obviously a couple ounces behind.
Yeah. Well,
I really should have brought a backup whiskey. This is terrible. I'm done with my drink.
See?
And Bill points out, if you light the garage,
I was ready.
Fire department, you were frying a turkey.
And that happens a lot too.
Yeah, they'll buy it.
Yeah.
Because you could make an argument that it still does sort of look like a turkey fryer if you take the top half off.
That's true. That's true. Get that same ring, burning it. Yep.
Yep.
Honest, officer,
I'm not reading this comment from Ratcliffe. I'll let you guys look at it online. But
oh, yeah.
That's a good way to get a load of buckshot.
Yeah. Yay. And with that, we've pretty much gone about as far as we can go with this conversation.
I suspect.
Amanda Schuster, Lou Bryson, thank you for joining us tonight on the Happy Hour webcast, guys. This was more fun than you should be allowed to have.
I did warn people it was going to be fun.
Oh, yeah. Well, what was it, the drinking game? Every time Amanda makes you laugh, somebody has to do a shot?
No, she was very responsible. She said a sip. That was smart.
Sip. I said a sip.
Because otherwise people would be dead.
It's true.
Well, we have another great
one. Thank you, because it was really good to see you, Amanda.
Yeah, it's good to see you.
Great to have you guys on. And
Miss you both.
Yeah.
Soon we can all get together and not have to socially distance and see each other.
We will go on trips again. We will.
Yes.
Well, I hope so.
We have traveled. We will travel again together.
Yes.
Let me say a few closing words here, guys. Thank you again for joining us on the Happy Hour webcast this Friday. Don't forget to listen to the WhiskyCast podcast this weekend. Once again, I'll have our in-depth interview with Fred No. We'll be talking about the Old Tub re-release of the whiskey that the family made for many, many years, and it sort of died out in the 70s, and you're going to find out how that may have led to some of the whiskeys we sort of have today, because turns out Old Tub was one of Booker's favorites back then. We'll also talk about his retirement plans, and he'll tell us how he spent part of yesterday drawing with sidewalk chalk with baby Booker, 2 years old, Freddy's son, Fred's grandson.
Amazing.
Don't forget to join us next Wednesday. We'll have Rebecca Jago from the Last Drop Distillers, along with Kirsty McCallum of Glen Murray Distillery and George S. Grant of Glen Farkless. Once again, don't forget to listen. And if you're in a whiskey club, you still have time to nominate your club for our Whiskey Club of the Month for July. We'll be announcing it on next weekend's show, the July 4th weekend show. And all you have to do is send in your information to comments@whiskycast.com. And we would be glad to honor your whiskey club with 24 WhiskyCast Glencairn glasses and the title of our Whiskey Club of the Month. Until we meet again on Wednesday and this weekend on the podcast, I'm Mark Gillespie. Thanks for joining us. Be safe, everyone. And please, when you go outside and go out in public, wear a mask for everybody's good. Thanks, everyone. Good night, all.